Hi, I'm Bene Garcia. This is my personal introduction video, some demographics about me. I'm from Kansas. For the past 3 years, I've lived in Phuket, Thailand. I currently teach third grade at Kajangket Patana School. Previously, I taught Cambridge, IGCSE, Global Perspectives, History, EFL, and ESL at a secondary private school. The challenges for me in the pandemic have been creating content that translates from the classroom to the digital classroom and keeping that content engaging. Also for me, as I've switched from secondary to primary, has been the language barrier. My students are Thai students, so they are English second language speakers, and I have to communicate non-verbally in a digital setting, which has been a challenge. Thoughts to share: children need a higher frequency of merit and validation. Also, it's okay if I'm not the best educator in the room. Also, everyone needs validation, from teachers to students to administrative staff. Everyone needs to have their work verified and validated. 3 mindsets from Dr. Bobby Moore. All students can learn. Teacher collaboration over isolation, and happiness and optimism. I agree to a full extent with all students can learn, and definitely to a full extent with teacher collaboration over isolation, especially the idea of take the best, leave the rest, when we all get together and share our ideas. I agree to a moderate extent with happiness and optimism. I do believe toxic positivity is a thing, and that when we're inauthentically happy or positive, we can create a false sense of reality. The 5 dispositions: confidence, risk taker and decisive, sense of humor, empathetically assertive, and learner. I agree with all these to a full extent. Confidence, you're always going to have critics, so you have to be confident in your decision making. Being decisive, if you're a decisive person, that also exudes a sense of confidence that is perceived by the students. Sense of humor, this is the one I agree with the most. That ability to ease tensions and de-escalate conflicts is crucial to cultivating an atmosphere of positivity for the student. And also that levity is a crucial tool that an educational leader should have in their toolbox. Empathetically assertive, yes, I think that is true, to be able to put yourself in your student's shoes, but also be empathetically assertive as to the decisions that you will make as an educator. And yes, lifelong learner, exploring strategies and continuing to learn. The idea that in order to be an effective leader, you also must simultaneously be an effective student. The 3 practices: focus and prioritizing, examining feedback and data, and emotional intelligence. I agree with all these mostly to a full extent. The one I agree to the fullest extent is emotional intelligence. Every interaction a leader has with someone either leaves that person inspired, motivated, or demotivated. Absolutely. As I'm learning with younger kids, I find that every interaction is crucial, as they see me as a leader and as a role model. So I have to be emotionally aware of their well-being. Focus and prioritizing, absolutely. What's the end goal, and how do we get there? To a moderate extent, examining feedback and data. It just depends on how that data was collected and collated, and whether there were any implicit biases in regards to the person or persons collecting that data. I don't always agree with the metrics a school uses to determine the effectiveness and validity of an educator. Again, context-based situations. The 8 principles of ethical leadership in education: personal courage, public interest ahead of self, self-control, self-discipline, and integrity, task, employee, and centeredness. Of these 4, I agree to a full extent, but I have some critiques in regards to their specificity to education. It's definitely important to be brave, definitely important to be selfless, self-control, absolutely, and task and employee centeredness, putting the needs of the students and staff ahead of personal needs, again, absolutely crucial to being an effective leader. The other 4: recognizing talent, requiring high ethics from everyone, sensitivity, understanding, and inclusiveness. Again, I agree with these to a full extent, especially inclusiveness. Because right now at my current school, we're not really included in the major decision making. Like they could definitely do more to engage us and to make our again to validate us. And because of the lack of inclusiveness that I've experienced right now, I can say that is absolutely a crucial factor because the more that the staff is included, the more motivated and validated they feel. Mindsets, critiques of the mindsets. Yeah, I definitely use all students can learn in my decision making process. Again, the decision making is always like context based on where the classroom is at and what the kids are like. Um, yeah, all students can learn from extroverts, introverts, fast learners, slow learners, creative and non-creative students, and especially their level of English proficiency. Some thoughts. Yeah, I yes, all students can learn, but I've recently, and this is from observing myself, not every teacher can teach every student. I'm learning that I'm definitely geared towards teaching high school students. I've learned a lot in regards to teaching third graders, um, but this aspect has been present recently. Some misgivings, again, going back to happiness and optimism. You can have, you know, a false sense of reality. And so I don't always want to be good vibes only. And I know that the writing didn't specifically target that, but that does influence the decision making. Also, it's important not to be a downer and to be hypercritical. When we talk about dispositions, definitely sense of humor, absolutely essential to cultivating joy. And I do implement that in my decision making. Like the presence, like it can't be doom and gloom in the classroom. There has to be some levity, and that levity can be utilized to uh, effectively implement the instruction. Some thoughts. Yes, being empathetically assertive is crucial and important, but also empathetic to the point of not reducing accountability. Mainly, you can be, if you're too empathetic, you can be emotionally hijacked. This will lead to burnout, but also maybe it can break the bond of trust that you were hoping to strengthen with your students, and maybe some resentment if you are emotionally hijacked. So that's why I do like the idea of uh, being empathetically assertive. Like, I see where you're coming from. However, I still have to do X, Y, Z. Some misgivings about confidence. I think that, yes, in every facet or profession, there's always this idea that, yeah, you should be confident. However, there's a lot of, maybe I'd say, confident morons. There's confidence and there's competence. And I'm more comfortable with maybe somebody who doesn't appear 100% confident all the time because, they want to make sure they make the right decision. Practices, emotional intelligence. Yeah, I think this is crucial. You have to be able to emotionally read the room. You're like the emotional quarterback of the classroom, and you have to pull the audible sometimes. Um, it's being able to see how they're feeling and quickly be adaptable to their emotional situation. Thoughts, focusing and prioritizing. Yeah, again, I think this is crucial. Depending on whatever the priority is for that course outline or in that curriculum, it definitely influences what decisions are going to be made in regards to planning lessons. Misgivings, again, I feel like feedback and data can be biased. Implicit biases can arise from the data, and it's unreliable sometimes. And um, again, it just depends on the school and how those metrics are correlated. But in regards to, I also think, though, on the other side, to what Dr. Bobby Moore was talking about, is an educational leader is also concerned on other data as well, whether it's from like the CDC or from the government or from the U.S. Department of Education as well. And in that aspect, I do agree that feedback and data is important. It just depends on the data and where it's coming from. Uh, Principles of ethical leadership. Yeah, as far as, yeah, definitely what's better for the students versus what's good for me. For instance, you know, if like I make a decision maybe I'm not in the best mood, but I understand that the kids need to develop their team building skills. And so, if I do a Lego STEM project with the kids, I know they're going to be loud. I know it's going to be a bawdy, raucous environment. However, they're going to be able to learn some team building skills, learn how to communicate non-verbally. And even though I'm not like up to the mood energetically, it is ultimately what's best for them. Thoughts, personal courage, perseverance, and grit. Yeah, I think perseverance and courage is essentially, yeah, it does come into my decision making, especially if we think of courage being doing something, even though you're afraid to do it. Misgivings about the ethical leadership. I think that the list of the 8 principles is kind of obvious. I mean, they kind of talk about in broad strokes. Those are things you could apply to, any industry or area. And I thought, it'd been more specific in regards to pedagogical leadership. Some things I could do to change to be a more successful school leader. More emphasis on focus and prioritizing. Sometimes I lose focus. Sometimes, I get hit with attention, the ADD, the ADHD. I lose focus. I lose sight of what is actually important. What is the main priority? Emotional intelligence. This is something that needs to be consistently developed. I am a lifelong learner, and sometimes I think I think that I know enough about emotional intelligence and that I don't need to learn anymore. When in fact, it needs to be constantly developed and strengthened and exercised. These are my CLO 2.1 correlation. Definitely, by having a deeper understanding of these concepts and critiquing how they influence my own decision-making process, I have improved my pedagogical effectiveness and can more effectively cultivate an environment of authentic positivity for my students and colleagues that will lead to their academic and professional success. Relevancy. These concepts were highly salient to my learning because they provided the basic foundation for educational leaders across the globe. I think it's relevant because these things they transcend culture, race, and nationality and can be implemented in any classroom environment. Personal reflection. As I was going through this, yeah, I think that it validated my intrinsic pedagogical beliefs, especially in regards to humor and empathy. I think it is important to have, it is crucial, not just for in a professional sense, but in a personal sense, to have a well-developed sense of humor in order to provide levity in situations where it's absolutely necessary. And in regards to making people feel at ease and reducing stress. I do think that the content and the instruction of the assignment were designed to reinforce the essentiality of these concepts. Um, and overall, yeah, the assignment has made me a better educator. Not only were some of my pedagogical beliefs validated, I also learned how to use Screencastify. And now I'm going to carry that skill with me through, through the entirety of this graduate program and through, my own professional career. That is the end of the video, so thank you. This is my reference page. This was made using Screencastify and Google Slides. Okay, thanks.